Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome back to IAD-TV. It is September the 3rd, 2013, and this is episode 7. Tonight we are going to be talking about Okizeme, which I will explain in detail in just a minute, but first, normal order of business. First thing you might notice here is a brand new logo and start for the show. This is courtesy of one of my stream viewers who's been watching the IAD-TV episodes and sent me a massive graphic design package full of new logos and an overlay and all sorts of awesome stuff, completely free of charge for my use during the show and my Twitter icons and all that fun stuff. So, first and foremost, huge shout-outs to KY Khalil for all the graphics. Thank you very, very, very much. They look awesome, and as you can see, the overlay is much nicer. It doesn't look like it was designed by someone who has no graphic design knowledge, i.e. myself. So, the stream has a much cleaner look, and that's a nice thing. I really appreciate that. So thank you again, KY Khalil. If anybody needs some graphic design work or stuff like that and would like to get in touch with him, I highly recommend him because he sent me not just the logo and the overlay and stuff, but an entire brochure on how to properly use all the stuff and the design process, and I was floored. It was just awesome. So that was really cool. Beyond that, I hope everybody enjoyed your Labor Day weekend. Those of you that got a long weekend, if you didn't, sorry, I enjoyed mine, but hopefully the rest of you did as well. And as always, thanks for all your feedback and retweets of the show and any questions, comments you've sent me via the email and all that. I always appreciate it. It helps shape the show and yeah, has gotten things going much better and much smoother, I think, so far. So, all that being said, let's start on tonight's episode with our main topic, which, like I said, is going to be Okizeme. What is Okizeme? Some of you are probably wondering. Those of you who are not completely familiar with 2D fighter terms, or 3D fighter terms, it's actually used in both. Okizeme is the Japanese term which is used for your offensive pressure and or mix-ups after you have knocked the opponent down. Why is Okizeme important? Well, in Guilty Gear it's super important because, as I've mentioned in earlier episodes regularly, all of Guilty Gear's knockdowns are hard knockdowns. There's no way to early tech, there's no way to get up unless you're OTG. You are forced to endure the knockdown duration. So this allows for Guilty Gear's most elaborate offensive setups and mix-ups and all sorts of fun stuff. So Okizeme is a super powerful offensive tool. It's a really big part of almost every single character's game. So those of you who've been waiting for an episode about mix-ups and offense and that kind of theory, this is going to be one of those episodes. So if you're sick of hearing about neutral and defense and basics, then hopefully this will tide you guys over. So let's go ahead and jump in just because I get sick and tired of hearing the training mode. Character select mode. Who is going to be our dummy? I choose you. Well, I was on Kai anyway, so I guess it's going to be Kai. Go to stage that shows up better on the stream. I'm just going to go to stage. So, every character can utilize Okizeme in some way or form. Certain characters have stronger Okizeme than others, but every single character gets a lot out of the ability to knock the opponent down and then set up their next game plan. Okizeme, no matter how strong or weak, quote-unquote, your Okizeme is, and I don't feel that there's anybody with truly weak Okizeme, you're still in a very good position. This is the point in a match where you hold ultimate offensive advantage. You're standing, you have full range of your options and movement, and your opponent is knocked down and cannot move till he gets back up. So it's really important to utilize Okizeme because it puts you in a situation where you force your opponent to make reads and sometimes even guesses and desperation sort of decisions that are not in their favor if you utilize it right. So let's just start with basics of Okizeme. How do you learn your Okizeme? Is this like a big broad thing, kind of like Neutral Game was, where it's fluid? Yes and no. Okizeme is definitely character specific. The first thing you want to do is you want to learn all your character's strongest Okizeme options and what you have to utilize when you knock a character down. So just for the basic point, get your basic knockdown, and then what do? You have this period of time where Kai has to sit there and then rise back up. Well, in my character's case, Anji, I have a very strong Okizeme tool, and it's called Butterfly. I get to throw a projectile on him and then start some sort of mix-up and or pressure. That's a very basic Okizeme thought process, is having some sort of item you can put on the opponent to make them kind of sit still as they wake up. With some characters, your Okizeme options are really straightforward. Like with Anji, if I knock you down, more often than not I'm going to put Butterfly on you, unless there's a really funky spacing issue that you might be able to punish me for it or something like that. That's my go-to Okizeme option. Milia is usually going to put either Bubble or Disc on you, almost every single time she knocks you down, if she's able to. Eddie, if he knocks you down and he has access to the Shadow, is probably going to summon the Shadow and start his Shadow pressure, that side of thing. But not every character has obvious tools for their Okizeme. Sometimes you have to adjust to the situation based on what you have available in your toolbox. So, like most things in Guilty Gear, Okizeme is very character, matchup, and situation based. There's no hard and fast rules for everyone on Okizeme, so part of that is learning your character and learning all your options, as usual. I know I beat this into your head every week, but it's important to know that. The more you know about your character and your options, the better off you are in all parts of Guilty Gear, including Okizeme. So, your basic Oki actions can range from, like I said, something simple as knocking them down and going low, or going overhead, or going for a cross-up, which that didn't cross up, but you get my point, you know, jump over you, oh look, cross-ups, that kind of fun thing. So they can be very simple, or they can be super elaborate. You know, characters like Testament or Dizzy have very broad Okizeme setups they can do when they knock you down, given their assist-like items that they have. Dizzy has her fish and ice spike and all that, and Testament has the EXE beast, which set up all sorts of fun things. So, Oki can be very, very elaborate. It can be very, very basic. There's not necessarily one that's better than the other. It just depends all about your character and the situation. We'll kind of break those down as we go. So all that being said, what's the goal of Okizeme? What is your main objective after you've knocked someone down and they are at your mercy, so to speak? Basically, your goal is you want to maintain your offensive advantage. You want to open your opponent back up and start another combo, do more damage. If you're lucky, maybe you get to knock them back down again and repeat the whole process. This is why Okizeme can be very powerful. If you can open someone up, do a combo, and put them back on the ground, well, guess what? Now you start the whole process over again, and it's in your favor. So, good stuff. So, now we kind of have the basis of what Okizeme is, what you're trying to do, and what you're shooting for. Let's talk about evaluating your options on Okizeme. Every character approaches this topic differently, like I said. It's very based on not just your character, but matchups, what character you're playing against, and the situation. And there's lots of little pieces of the situation that kind of put this whole puzzle together and help you understand what you're doing. So, in general, how strong of an advantage you have with your Okizeme is based on a lot of things. The first and foremost, like I said, is your character's options. So, for example, let's just have Kai block, because it's a very easy way to set up Okizeme. I should go ahead and guard Kai. So I'll throw him on the ground, which sets up good Okizeme for Anji. Just put the butterfly on him, and now I start my basic options. Let's start with something really simple. Let's just say I want to make him block the butterfly. The butterfly hits mid. He doesn't have to block high or low. He doesn't have to adjust to it. It's just a mid. Talking about regular butterfly here, of course. So, I want to apply just a basic 50-50, very simple mix-up. So I can go up and do a low, like low slash. I can go up and do max range low kick, or max range sweep. Those are all just lows. Or put butterfly and then attempt to do Anji's overhead, his down forward punch, which hits overhead. He has to block it high. That's just a very basic 1-to-1 50-50. I have a mix-up. That's the essence of a very simple first step of Okizeme. So there's a couple options. There's something you look at. You always want to know, do I have a high-low game? Most characters have some semblance of a high-low game just because not everyone has a stand overhead. Everybody's got a dust, and dust hits overhead. So if nothing else, you've got this kind of stuff where it's like, oh, low dust. That's a low than a high. So there's one option you look for to start off with, is just, do I have some high-low? The next option you want to look for in your character is, do I have any cross-up potential? With Anji, one thing you can do is try to use Big Stomp. That can hit cross-up. If you do it fast enough when the butterfly is on them, you can actually cause the cross-up to happen, and then they'll have to turn the other way and block the butterfly. I can't dash before I do it because I'm a scrub, but you get the idea. See, he would actually have to turn and block butterfly the other way. So there's a basic cross-up potential. A lot of characters can do stuff like this, where they jump over you and air dash back and do cross-ups or fake cross-ups, you know, that kind of thing. So look to see what you have for those sort of options. So high-low first, cross-up potentials. Another thing you want to look for on your Okizeme stuff, what kind of pressure options do you have? Anji, I can simply go up and do pressure strings. Especially since standing slash cranks guard gauge now, this is a really good option. If I really just want to make him block a bunch of stuff, I could do stuff like this. And go into Force Spray Green, crank the guard gauge up, have frame advantage. You always want to utilize high advantage, high pressure strings in your Okizeme along with your mix-ups, because sometimes you may just not open someone up, so why not keep the offensive pressure on? You want to hold your advantage over someone. That's what Okizeme is all about. You get to dictate control of the match and the flow at that point. So you want to utilize that strength that you have. After your pressure and your frame trap, that kind of stuff, do you have a good grab? Do you have a command grab? Are you Potemkin? Are you Soul Bad Guy? Are you Robokai? You know, there's not a lot of characters with command grabs, but obviously, if Anji had a command grab, this would be really silly because, well, now you're blocking all kinds of stuff, and then I can just tick throw you. But the nice part is, even if you don't have a command grab, well, you can just use all sorts of grab stuff. You know, I have to finish blocking this butterfly. What's going on? He's mixing me up. Oh, he threw me. You know, even something as simple as this. Everybody's got a throw, and as we've talked about, throws are really good in Guilty Gear. So, throw that into your list of options. If you have a command grab, it's an extra option. If you don't, throws are always still in there. Another one, can you set up like basic instant air dash mix-ups? So, pretend for the sake of argument we knock Kai down. Can you do stuff like this? And then go low. You know, can you instant air dash and empty and go low? Can you instant air dash and then do a delayed overhead like this? That sort of stuff. So, instant air dash mix-ups on top of all the other stuff. And then, like I talked about right off the bat, do you have what I like to call the toy? The thing that you get to put on someone to make them really kind of fear jumping out of the way or moving on Okizeme. In Anji's case, butterfly. It's really easy to time butterfly meaty, especially off things like throw or his air command grab on, because it just hits nice and meaty. They have to usually deal with that first hit if they're not going to take risks. So, pardon me for a second. So, evaluate all your options. What are your high-low, your basics, you know, up-in-their-face mix-ups? What's your cross-up potential? What are your pressure tools? Can you go into what kind of frame traps can you go in? What kind of pressure guard gauge crank can you put on them? Remember, even if you just crank somebody's guard gauge to the moon, you've done a lot of good for your situation because now they have risk-reward skewed way against them. All it takes is one hit at that point, and then fun stuff can happen. So, pressure and guard gauge crank. Grabs and command grabs. Obviously, if you have access to a command grab, that makes your mix-up potential that much stronger. Basic common sense there. Instant air dash mix-ups or empty jump mix-ups, that sort of thing. And then, if you have access to some sort of toy. It can be a projectile. For some characters, it's a really good normal. That kind of fun stuff. So we evaluate what we have. I know what I can do, just from a basic standpoint, when I start Okizeme. I have all these options at my foray, so now I can start coming up with mix-ups. Do I want to do something like, you know, go low and then put the pressure on, go low, try and be safe? Do I want to blatantly run up and overhead them? Do I want to go low and stomp? You know, these things go on forever. Once you understand all your options, start writing the book. Start making up all your Okizeme options. Again, some are more robust than others. It's really easy to come up with large, complex Okizeme strings with Anji because he has the butterfly, and it's something that allows a very long duration of pressure that's hard to interrupt. So, all that being said, that's your first step. Start Okizeme. What are my options? What are the ways I can open you up or put pressure on you or just in general maintain my offensive advantage? So we evaluated our side of the coin, what we have, what we can do. Now, arguably the more important part of playing Okizeme well is evaluating their options. What does the opponent have available to them, even though they're at an obvious disadvantage after being knocked down? It's really important that you understand how to evaluate your opponent's position of strength and or weakness when you knock them down. How strong your Okizeme actually is in a given situation usually has much less to do with your options and much more to do with what they have available at their disposal given that point. So, characters like Anji, this seems like very, very strong Okizeme. The butterfly, and I get to go up and do whatever I want, right? Yes and no. There's plenty of ways that that can be shut down or dealt with, and all sorts of fun stuff. So, let's talk about the things we have to consider when looking at our opponent's options on Okizeme. First and foremost, the number one thing you're going to have to think about when you put someone in an Okizeme situation, what are their reversal options? So let's go grab controller settings so I can record Kai to actually purposely record it. So, reversals. Most of you know by now, in fighting game, reversals are moves that you do during a window of your wake-up animation that you're allowed to input moves and have things come out. Usually this comes with a period of invulnerability or stuff like that based on the move you do. So, real basic example, you knock someone down. Oh, we're going to stop blocking, Kai. Knock someone down, and now, what are they able to do from you from a reversal standpoint? Well, we know first and foremost, everybody has this. Everybody can reversal throw. We talked about this in the very first episode, how strong throwing is in Guilty Gear. Because throw essentially has 0 startup, or 1 frame startup if you want to be super technical. And there's a window on Wake Up where you cannot be thrown. That means everyone in the game has access to reversal throw. So if you knock them down and you start your Okizeme and you're all up in their face, they can throw you. That's always an option. You have to respect reversal throw against everyone in the cast, no matter who you're playing against. Have to be mindful of it. Do not forget, this is so frustrating for new players when they knock someone down and they get in that mentality of, I'm going to meaty the shit out of you, and then the next thing that happens is they get chunked. So, reversal throw. Never forget about it. It can be very frustrating. Next thing you want to be mindful of is just good old-fashioned standard reversals. Dragon punches. Guilty Gear, like most fighting games, has DPs. They have good invulnerability windows. They can be done on reversals, and they will beat you out of all kinds of stuff. If Anji comes up and starts doing the butterfly, I can do stuff like this. It will work. You need to be mindful of reversal dragon punches and good reversals that have invulnerability and beat out your moves. So, that's the next option to consider down the list of reversals. The next thing to be mindful of, backdashes. You can, in fact, reversal backdash in this game. There is a window where you're allowed to input a backdash, and as we know, backdashes have a good chunk of invulnerability. Some of them are very fast and cover a lot of space. So, if you do stuff that isn't super meaty or gives a little bit of a gap, your opponent can wake up and backdash and maybe get out of harm's way and reset the game back to neutral. So be mindful of the ability to just wake up and try and back out. That's something a lot of people will do. This is a very common thing you see amongst new players when they kind of realize they can do it. Because offense is scary in Guilty Gear, and they realize they can wake up and go, oh shit, I can get away. Yeah, I'm going to do that a lot now. So, you got to be mindful of that. Very important. One thing you do not have to consider in the reversal part of it. There is no reversal slashback. You cannot slash back on your reversal. There's I can't remember how big the window is, but there's a certain frame window as you're getting up and after you wake up that you cannot slash back. So you never have to worry about putting something on someone and letting them and having them just slash back right off the bat as they wake up. That will not work. So, slashback does exist in latter parts of Okizeme, but on the reversal period, as they're waking up from being knocked down, they cannot slash back for for I can't remember if it's like 8 or 10. It's a fairly generous window that they're not able to slash back. So if you even have a half-ass meaty of some type, they're not going to be able to slash back that. So keep that in mind. Another thing to be mindful of as an odd reversal quirk is a couple characters have delayed wake-ups. Robo-Kai can hold a button and he lays on the ground and does his little kind of mini taunt. You can OTG him, but that means he gets to tech after that. He actually can delay his get-up. So, like, if I throw Robo-Kai and immediately throw Butterfly, he can just hold a button and Butterfly will go right over him and disappear because he won't wake up in time. Bridget can also do a more ghetto version of this if she has the yo-yo in her possession. He has the yo-yo in his possession. See, even I fall for it sometimes. He can delay wake up by throwing the yo-yo straight up as he lays down. So these can mess with your timings, so be mindful of those if you're playing those two characters. Certain characters have slightly slower wake-up speeds and animations than others. For the most part, almost everyone gets up at the same clip in Guilty Gear. Notable ones are like Abba. Abba gets up notoriously slow compared to others, but it's not so slow and so off-putting that it's going to really, really throw off your Okizeme game, but it's something to be mindful of when you time meaties and fun stuff you want to do on their reversal, that sort of thing. So be mindful of Robo and Bridget with their delayed wake-ups, and then be mindful of awkward wake-up timings like Abba, and then like Chip gets up rather fast, that sort of thing. So we have the first round of their options, their ability to reversal and go through things. And just for the sake of actually showing it, let's actually record Kai doing this. So play memory. That's not a Dragon Punch. So, this is going to be awkward to do, but we'll try it. Actually, no, I bet I can make it work. So, yeah, I'm going to put this on a different button. Oh, and I turned him around anyway, so that doesn't work. Kai, this may not work with. Just because his Dragon Punch isn't as good. You know what? I have a better idea. We're going to... How do I want to do this? I know how we'll do this. I'll just play as Kai. Or I'll better yet, we'll just do someone as a legit, super good reversal. So we'll record Anji here. Let's do that again. Whoops. Alright. And record. Okay. Now. Whoops. Throws. Butterfly. Reversal. Right through all of it. Standard stuff. You kind of know what this looks like, but just for the sake of having it on stream so you can see. Have to consider that. You can't just blindly rush in when people have good reversals or DPs. So, we'll kind of work with this because it might be easier to demonstrate with bad guy. So just your basic reversals, the options they have on those situations. Vash asks, can you reversal jump? You can attempt to one-frame jump, that technique I showed in the Advanced Techniques episode. You can one-frame jump out of some situations. It is possible. But if people are meeting you really well, you're not going to one-frame jump out of it because the jump still has startup. So that's not going to work. Jumps work for more delayed timing, stuff like that. Like I showed with the example in the episode with one-frame jump, how if Milia puts a disc on you and then does a delayed overhead, you can actually one-frame jump and get off the ground and block it, that sort of thing. But as a true reversal, one-frame jumps are not legit. If anybody does any kind of decent meaties or anything like that, you're not going to one-frame jump out of it. So, jumping is there, but it's not what I would call a true reversal. Fair enough? So, now, we have basic reversals down. Let's talk about options that your opponent has when they have access to their resources. By resources, I mean things like meter, when they have access to their burst, these sort of things. These change how powerful and how legit your Okizeme is drastically. Anytime someone has access to burst, you have to add another reversal to the list, and that is reversal gold burst. You can do this on reversal. Oh, hey, I should probably turn burst on infinite so I don't look silly. There we go. You can wake up in gold burst. The timing is tight. It's probably not as easy to time as, say, reversal uppercuts, because you have to be completely out of your wake-up animation, otherwise you will still get a blue burst. But you can time it on the first frame you come up out of complete wake-up animation and get a reversal gold burst. Gold bursts are invulnerable, so they work just like a legit reversal, and you have to be mindful of it. A lot of people can do reversal gold burst very reliably. I am not one of them. I fuck up reversal gold burst all the time, waste my burst, and then look stupid. So if you're going to do it, you might want to actually, like, learn. Agonor makes a good point. They're only strike invulnerable. If you think someone's going to reversal gold burst and you have psychic powers, you can run up and air grab it. You're going to have a hell of a read to do this, but that's one of those cool things that if you throw somebody's reversal gold burst, you're going to demoralize the shit out of them. Anyway, getting slightly off track. So you have to be wary of reversal gold burst, and then you just have to be wary if they have burst at all, because once you start Okizeme, if you open them up or they start blocking, they can burst. You have to be wary of what to deal with. If they just don't like the situation, they can just go, nope, go away, and just blue burst out of it, and it's going to reset things back to neutral if you don't have ways to deal with that. So that's important to note. Always check on burst. Always be mindful if your opponent has burst or not. It greatly, greatly alters the strength of your Okizeme position. So that alone can sway having a really strong Oki position against having a okay Oki position. So, we have burst. And then meter, obviously, changes a great deal of what your opponent's options are on wake up. If you get to 25%, obviously certain characters get access to force breaks. Some characters have legit reversals with force breaks. Slayer now has Force Break Dandy Step, which is an insanely good reversal because it's really, really invulnerable, and he can do any of his follow-ups to Dandy out of it, or he can just get out of there. So he has 25%. Suddenly he has a really good reversal option in addition to his other reversal options. Once you get to 50%, characters all have access to dead angle attacks. So if we record Anji here to come up, blah, blah, blah. We all have access to our dead angles at 50%. Got to be very mindful of those. Got to be very mindful of the fact that now we have access to supers. Supers, for the most part, have some sort of invulnerability on a lot of them. So even something as simple as Wake Up Tyrant Wave, that's a legit reversal. It's risky as hell, especially if it gets blocked, but it becomes a reversal. They can choose to do that in addition to other things, you know. Slayer gets, like, Eternal Wings, which is a really crappy super, but it's still a reversal. That sort of thing. So you have to worry about supers. You have to worry about dead angle attacks. Have to worry about bursts when we're talking about things they can do with resources. And then, the other thing, once they have 50%, we have access to Roman cancels. This is extremely important if you are playing against someone who has a good reversal uppercut, like Bad Guy. If you knock Bad Guy down and he has 50%, he has free reign to do this. It doesn't matter if you block it, he's going to be at advantage. The only way you can stop someone from utilizing a reversal uppercut and Roman canceling it to be safe is to flat out make them whiff it, because that's the only way they can't Roman cancel it. So when you have someone with a really good reversal uppercut and they have 50%, you better be ready for them to try and make the escape, because there's really no reason not to. It's harder to bait than a dead angle, it's safer than a dead angle, and the only way to really do anything about it is to flat out make it whiff. So be mindful of characters that have these sorts of things. There's all sorts of other, you know, invulnerable moves that you can Roman cancel on block that would be really unsafe if they were just baited. But on Roman cancel, you can either get frame advantage out of it, or you can just flat out get out of the way and go back to neutral. That sort of thing. And then the other thing with meter that you need to be of is that everyone obviously can do faultless defense. And the amount of pushback and that sort of thing can change all sorts of how ways your Okizeme work. If you have a string that's really, you know, ticky and frame trap kind of stuff, well, if they're faultless defensing, you're probably going to get pushed out faster, and they might have a way to escape, that sort of thing. So always be mindful. They can burn faultless defense. And then obviously with meter, you can slash back. Like I said, you can't slash back on wake up for your reversal, but slash back does become an option once they are out of wake up animation and out of that window, which, like I said, I'll have to look it up. I do apologize for not knowing that off the top of my head. But once you start doing your basic pressure strings and mix-up out of Okizeme, if you do predictable stuff, they have access to slashback. That's really important to note. So, what does all this mean? Basically, it works the same way for your opponent that it does for you. Even though you've knocked them down and you've limited what they have access to, more or less, the more things they have access to, option-wise, the stronger their position is to either get out of your Okizeme, to knock you out of it and turn the tide for their favor, or to kind of set things back to neutral. You have to consider all of their options. You have to look at all these things. It's really important to take note of how much meter somebody has. Can they dead angle? Can they Roman cancel an uppercut? Can they use a force break that might get them out of harm's way? And then, like I said earlier, always watch burst. You have to be noticing if you knock someone down. If they have burst and I go up and try and do something cute, you know, like, oops, I knock you down, I'm going to go dust. Well, if they have gold burst and they're even remotely competent in reversaling it, you're going to get gold burst. And it's going to suck. So, I lost my train of thought for a second. So, all the defensive options have to be considered when you're picking out what you want to do for Okizeme. So, kind of down the line again. What do we have for our options? What are our mix-ups? What are our available ways to pressure and mix up the opponent when we knock them down? Then we look at their options. How can they reversal? What do they have access to with their resources? How can they get out of it? What sort of fun things can they do that either will turn the match back in their favor or will set things back to neutral and erase what we've gotten with our knockdown? So, good Okizeme is all about utilizing the most out of your options while being prepared to deal with all the reversal and different options your opponent has. When you're playing good Okizeme, you're going to put the opponent in a very uncomfortable situation. So, if I'm playing Anji and I knock you down, having to block butterfly is not fun. Like we've said, I can do things like go high and then I get a combo off it. I can go low and get a combo off it. I can do all sorts of things. You know, if I open you up, oops, wrong button, you know, I get to do big combos that end in all sorts of stuff. I don't have any meter because I haven't put any meter on this. Let's fix that. Back. And infinity. Thank you. You know, I knock you down and you fail to block, and then I get to take you for a ride and all this fun stuff. If I do that right, it ends in a knockdown. You're right back in the same situation. So you put your opponent in a situation where they know, man, if I don't block this, I'm probably going to take a lot of damage, and I'm probably going to be put back in the same situation. On top of that, what you want to do is you want to create situations that are difficult to read and react and get out of. You want to do stuff that makes it so your opponent can't just look at it and go, okay, he's going low then high, and this is really easy. I just block here, and then I stand up and block here, and then the mix-up's over. That's not a big deal. You want to create all sorts of different strings and options and things that make your opponent go, I really don't know what's going on here, and it's hard to react to. There's a common misconception amongst a lot of players that if overheads or certain delayed moves are so many frames long that they are reactable. This is straight up not true. This is misconstruing your ability to recognize patterns or take educated guesses. You'll hear some people say, oh, that overhead's only like 17 frames, you can react to that. More often than not, that's bullshit. what usually happens is it means people are using that overhead in either predictable strings or they're using it in situations where the opponent has good reason to guess that the overhead is coming, so they instinctively stand up. To actually have people look at things like Milia forward kick and say they can react to that, they're lying. You don't react, you just take educated guesses. You use hints and tips. What can she Gatling out of it from? That sort of thing. So, mix-ups that are hard to react to. And react, I'm talking about in the sense that I just discussed. Things that they can't just go, oh yeah, he's doing that, you know. I mean, Anji's dust, fairly slow. This is something you can reasonably react to because it's well over 24 frames. You see him rearing back and doing this, and you could sit there and go, oh shit, that's dust, and stand up. That's not unreactable. But something like stand kick, down forward punch, you know, a mid into an overhead. That's not necessarily reactable. They have to realize that that's one of your options and consider it and go, okay, that's something he can do. But I could just as easily do something like stand low. You're not reacting to whether I did this or this. You're just going to figure out what you're going to do through past experiences and through just knowing what my Gatlings are, that sort of thing. So, stuff that's not reactable. I know I got off on a little bit of a rant there, but it's important to know the difference between things that are actually reactable and things that people react to because of seeing it multiple times or using educated guesses or just knowing that there's a lot of situations where, say, a high could come here, so I'm going to go ahead and stand up, or a low could come here, so I'm going to go ahead and duck. That sort of thing. So, having mix-ups and pressure that's not easy to react to and is not predictable. You don't want your strings in Okizeme mix-up to be predictable. If you're really, like, you know, if I'm Anji in, every time I knock you down, I go do the same exact string. Eventually, you're going to realize that all I do is I run up and I go, you know, mid, low, run up, stand mid, stand mid. That's not very creative. That's not that hard to block. All you have to do is just block low the entire time. And if I do it in the same pattern, eventually you're just going to start slash backing it and punishing the shit out of me. Or if you're a bad guy and you see me running up to do the same mix-up every time, I'm just going to uppercut you and say, stop it, dumbass. That sort of thing. So you can't be predictable. You got to have stuff that's hard to react to, stuff that's uncomfortable to deal with, and stuff that mixes up. You need to change up all sorts of things. There's lots of strings that are really juicy and good in Guilty Gear. But if you do the same string over and over again, even mediocre players will start going, oh, he's doing this again. Well, I'm just going to block. So, having lots of options and strings, very important. You know, something as simple as, just going back to, or actually, even better, let's use bad guy. Something as simple as knocking them down and then going low punch dust. Okay, now they have to react to that. Or knocking them down and going low punch delayed sweep. Or low punch command grab. That's not very elaborate. That's not special by any stretch of the imagination. Oh man, I don't have any mods in here, do I? Where are my mods when I need them? I know how to fix this. 1 second. Let me kill the bot here. Ban everyone. I know, I'm popular enough for spam bops. Hooray! You know what? Okay, we're gonna have a brief intermission here. So I can fix this. Let me go to my channel. Because I don't want anybody accidentally clicking on links. Because usually there is stuff that I do let people link in my chat. I don't want anyone getting confused. So, brief intermission in the episode. Sorry, YouTube viewers. Give me just a second. Oh, I will probably regret doing this, but I'm going to do it anyway. There we go. Okay. Against my better judgment, I gave my wife mod powers, so my wife can kill the spam bops while we work on this episode. Okay, back to what we were doing. So, good Okizeme is a lot like playing good offense. It's having multiple strings, having access to all sorts of things like, you know, air dash mix-ups and something as simple as bad guy jumping and I don't know how to space this move because I don't play bad guy. Doing that and then, yeah, that's totally what you do. I meant to do that. That sort of thing. Just getting all your options together, you know. Frame traps, high-low, mix-ups, that's what I'm talking about. High-low, cross-ups, throws and tick throws and command grabs, and then putting all of that into your basket of tools and utilizing all of those for Okizeme. The more options you have and the more you use those options, there's a big difference between knowing you have good options and actually utilizing all of them. If you get stuck in a rut and always go for the same canned mix-ups, that's not utilizing all your options. But if you utilize all of them, you can force your opponents into uncomfortable situations where they have to make snap decisions, where they have to make guesses instead of reads, and they have to try and make, take a stab at when to block which way or when to try to reversal out, that sort of thing, as opposed to knowing, here's a gap, I can reversal dragon punch. Here's a gap, I can backdash out. Here's the same string, I'm just going to block it and wait it out, that sort of thing. Once you start putting people in positions where they're actually scared of your Okizeme and they start respecting it and they go, oh man, there's the overhead, and then he did that, and he threw me the next time, then he went up and did a max range low and that sort of stuff. Now that they have all these things they have to start dealing with, this is where people will start relying on reversals, where they'll start relying on things to get them out of the situation. So it might be that instead of getting knocked down, they'll just wait to wake up and they'll say, no, I'm out. I don't want to deal with this. I'm going to gold burst. Or maybe they'll wait and block the first thing and then they'll blue burst. That sort of thing. Hit me, Anji. Or here. Like, well, this is going. Nope, I don't want to deal with it. I'm just going to blue burst out. They get uncomfortable and they start uppercutting on their wake up. They get uncomfortable and they start trying to backdash out. You get people twitchy and anxious on Okizeme, and that's when you really start having to account for all these options. You have to account for the bursts, the dead angles, the Roman canceled uppercuts, that sort of thing. So, let's talk about specifics of how to deal with some of the reversal options. We talked about reversal throw. Like I said, you knock someone down and you hover over them, they can reversal throw you. This is a big-time no-no for most part. If you're over someone and you're just asking them to reversal throw you. So what do you do to deal with people who like to hit reversal throw every time you hover over them on wake up? Well, there's some really good options for this. Certain characters have moves that are completely throw invulnerable. In Anji's case, he has down forward kick. So with Anji, I can knock you down and run up and do down forward kick, and if you're massing on reversal throw, you're going to get counter hit here. And then I get to do blah, blah, same song and dance I show you guys all the time. There's a lot of these moves out there that completely destroy reversal throws. Because when someone reversal throws, they're going to get their standing heavy. Every time. Standing heavies are slow, they're not terribly fast, and they're doing it on their wake up, which means they're doing it basically raw. So you're going to get to do all sorts of neat things. You're basically going to counter hit them every time. Anji has his down forward kick. Baiken has forward kick. Mei's standing kick is throw invulnerable. Jam's forward heavy is throw invulnerable. There's definitely other examples out there. You want to look up your character and see what moves they have that are throw invulnerable. These are important because not only do they beat normal throws, if it says throw invulnerable, that includes command grabs. So this will stuff Wake Up Potemkin Buster. And Wake Up Potemkin Buster is a legit reversal, by the way. So if you have a throw invulnerable move, it's important to know that because you can blow people up by just doing something as simple as running up and doing your throw invulnerable move. You can also do stuff like run up and one frame jump. and then try and fall and punish them for whiffing their move. Now that's a little bit more elaborate, and it's not always as easy to set up because you're going to be at an awkward angle, that sort of thing. And there's a chance if someone has like a wide-reaching stand heavy that hits high or something, you could even get counter hit out of it. So those aren't as reliable as just utilizing a straight-up throw and vulnerable move. So those are good to have in your back pocket if you have them. Not every character has a throw and vulnerable move, but definitely if you have one, learn how to utilize it. I cannot tell you how many times I've been playing like AKA's Eddie, and he knows I'm prone to throw if he hovers over me because he has really strong Okizeme characters. He will straight up run up to me with Eddie and just do drunken shade. The reflecting that Eddie does, that move has throw and vulnerability. Why? Who knows? Because Eddie gets stuff sometimes. But if he does that, I go for a throw, and then I straight up get counter hit and over his back. Oh, God. There were times where I died to that. Like, I lost, like, 50% just because I tried to wake up throw, even though he'd done it to me, like, 20 times. So, that's a good way to deal with reversal throws. What do you do about these things? What do you do about it when you knock someone down and they like to just jam on that Dragon Punch? Nope, I don't like it. I got an uppercut. We're not playing this game. Well, like we talked about earlier, if they're lacking resources, if Soul doesn't have 50% to Roman cancel this, this is like any other Dragon Punch in most games. If you block it, you get to go to town. I mean, you block this and you can set up your juicy punishes. Something important about Soul, and this is just a random note because I happened to be playing a bad guy not too long ago, is he can do the kick even on block. So you have to be prepared for him to do that. You still have to block that. It can't hit you. But if you block a Dragon Punch and they have no way to cancel out of it, I mean, if I see Soul land from a Dragon Punch, I'm doing straight up, like, all the juicy damage. That sort of thing. So, if you know someone who's getting twitchy and you think they're going to reversal, there is nothing wrong with running up to them on Okizeme and just dash breaking. Just dash break and go, yeah, go ahead, uppercut. I'm fine with this. I'm just going to hurt you way worse than I was going to, even if I had actually opened you up with the mix-up. So, when they have the Roman cancel, like we said, the only way you can get this to not be safe and get them out of the situation, you have to find a way to make it whiff. Like with Anji, what I would probably attempt to do is do like max range slash, low slash. This might get it to clash or might get it to whiff completely, but he might think it's close enough to try it, that sort of thing. But if you want to stop someone from utilizing a reversal with a Roman cancel that has a legit uppercut, you're going to have to find a way to make them whiff it. And that's not easy. Good players are going to make sure they're in range to get this off. You know, I can't Dragon Punch. What do you want from me? I'm a scrub. Good players will wait until they know they have enough range. And like Bad Guy, his heavy Dragon Punch goes pretty damn far. Wow, I cannot Dragon Punch on this side. This is why I don't play characters with DVs. Yeah. You know, you get my point. I'm probably jamming this a little too hard into everybody's head here. But, so what you do with those kind of things is have your FD break. You run up and FD break. Run up and FRC a move. That's not FRC. Really? There we go. You know, if I think someone's going to reversal uppercut, I might do this. That's twofold because forward kick has auto guard on it. There's another thing you can do. Maybe I'll try and bait a reversal uppercut by just throwing out a move with good auto guard on it. If I catch it, then I can do the auto guard counter and knock them down. That sort of thing. There's another option. You know, if you're playing Biken, you can run up and block and then do one of your counters. That's another. There's another caveat I completely forgot to mention. I don't know why I didn't write that down, considering this character's given me hell for 10 years. If you're playing against a Biken, you have to consider all of her freaking counters. If she blocks anything, she has access to the stab. She has access to Orin, the big flip move. So that's another wrinkle in the Okizeme thing that you have to deal with. That sort of thing. But there are plenty of ways to bait reversals. There's plenty of ways to bait people for just mashing on that Dragon Punch. Like I said, all you have to do is block it. If you block it and they don't have the meter to Roman cancel it, then you're going to get some juicy damage. Another thing to note with these sort of things is even if they don't have 50% when they do their Dragon Punch, if they have access to their burst, someone might be more willing to take the chance to get out. Because they know even if they get hit, they can probably burst the combo. So that's something to consider. If they have burst and 50%, just assume someone with a good Dragon Punch is doing this. Like, there's no reason for them not to. I don't know why my Dragon Punch is so bad. I'm actually stopping the episode just so I can do it. I'm like, yeah, execution is so terrible. So, this kind of brings about the thought process of baiting Dragon Punches, baiting reversals, baiting these sort of things. This brings up a very important note about Okizeme. It doesn't have to be about you cracking open their shell. You don't always have to have an elaborate mix-up or have this amazing Okizeme option and make them block wrong and then open them up and start the combo. Sometimes the best thing you can do is get someone to flat out hang themselves. Get someone who's just so twitchy they gotta do that Dragon Punch, or they're so nervous they even fucking use Wake Up Grand Viper, that kind of thing. Let them hang themselves. You can really punish people big time in Guilty Gear for risky reversals and risky moves that are not safe. This game has high combos, high damage for not a lot of meter. So if you block something like that, you can make it hurt a great deal. So it's okay to stop your offense and stop your block strings and stop your Okizeme for the sake of letting someone put the noose around their own neck. You will get just as much of a reward, if not more, if you do that and can do it consistently. So, what are other things you got to deal with? Well, we talked about reversal backdashes. You have to figure out how to deal with reversal backdashes, especially against characters with really good ones. Zappa and Johnny both have 10-frame backdashes that are insanely fast. You have Milia who has a super fast backdash. You have characters with high invulnerability backdashes like Potemkin that just have invulnerability for all but 1 frame. And if you let people reversal backdash all the time and it gets them out of shitty situations, they'll do it. They will absolutely go to it because this is not super high risk on its own. It's invulnerable and you're holding back, so unless you're on top of it, you're not going to punish this. So it's important to know what kind of options do I have for stuff that I can just flat out punish people for doing reversal backdashes. In Anji's case, if I think you're going to reversal backdash, I will straight up do something like this. Throw butterfly, and if you try to reversal, I'm going to hard slash Fujin. Or I'm going to run up and hard slash Fujin. Is that a perfect solution? Absolutely not. But what it does is it deters people from mashing on that. You don't need great options to slow down reversal backdash. You just need to do it once or twice and make them think twice about using their escape option. It's important to note that some Okizeme that's tight on characters with not so great backdashes may not be on other characters. Like if I set up butterfly spacing against like Amelia and it's not very good, she's going to be able to backdash after blocking the initial hit of the butterfly because I have too much recovery on my projectile. But you have to have ways to deal with reversal backdash. You cannot let people just do that for free, or people will get out of your mix-ups very easily. So find moves that do this. Like I said, Anji has hard slash Fujin. With bad guy, you can do something as simple as Grand Viper. That's not a great idea. It actually would work a lot better with like Order Soul to do Gun Blaze. There's a good chance that will go chase them down. If you're Slayer and you have 50%, dead on time them. Just flat out smack them in the fucking mouth for reversal backdashing and get big damage off it because you're Slayer. So yeah. Find moves to deal with reversal backdash. Do not let people do it. It will fuck up a lot of your Oki game if you just let them do it. It's not easy to stop reversal backdashes. They're good for a reason. They're invulnerable, and they don't have a lot of time on the end to punish them for doing it. But if you can do it and do it reliably, you will take away a very strong option for a lot of characters when they're trying to get out of Okizeme. The next thing you need to learn to bait, you have to learn to bait bursts and dead angles. Burst and burst baiting is more of an art form than a science. one of the best ways to bait burst is just to alter strings. Do things that have very low recovery that you can try and react to in faultless defense or jump in faultless defense. Do a lot of moves that are jump cancelable. If they burst during a jump cancelable move, you just instantly jump and block. Or you can jump and air throw them if you want to be flashy and demoralized, but you just jump and block and land and then get all the juicy damage. If you're doing big, wide strings with slow moves, this is Burst City. This is asking for someone to hit the burst button, because these moves are not easy to deal with. They're jump cancelable, but they're still long and wide sweeping, and there's a large window where I can just go, nope, done with this, out. So it's important to work on burst baiting. This is hard. I still struggle to this day with baiting bursts really well. I will actually probably have a good section of an episode at some point about just understanding how to deal with bursts and the art of learning when your opponent wants to burst and learning what's burst safe versus not burst safe, because it's a very elaborate part of Guilty Gear, but it's one of those things you just kind of have to get used to if you want to utilize it. But the sooner you start learning how to deal with bursts, the better. It's important if you want to maintain your offensive advantage. Dead angles are a little bit easier to deal with. Oops. Anji, go do silly stuff. There we go. Oops. Not all dead angles are created equal. Souls there is pretty good. Like, if you notice, I went for Sweep, which is a pretty low profile move for Anji. Or that's low slash. Let me do this again. Sorry. Okay. And I mistime it because it sucked. See how that even beat his Sweep? Sweep is a pretty low-profile move. Anji's pretty low to the ground. His hitbox isn't very tall. Dead Angle still knocked him out of that quite well. Not all dead angles are like this. Some characters have dead angles that hit very high, or are slow to start up, or don't have a very good hitbox. And if you're playing against one of those characters, it's much easier to bait a dead angle. If you use a low-profile move like Bad Guy's Sweep, there's a good chance you can get out of that. Let me actually see if I can... Alright, we'll see if that'll work for telling Anji to do stuff. Okay, good. See how Sweep went under Anji's dead angle? Let me do that again for you. Oops. Then time it right, but... See? It whiffed. At that point, I'm going to recover faster than him and do stuff. Not all dead angles are created equal. If you have a good low-profile move, you can just make a lot of dead angles whiff. The other thing is just, if you just bait a dead angle... Oops. Ah. Oh, damn it. Now I have to re-record it. Okay. Dead angles are not usually safe on block. They're not like super good reversal moves. Most of them have strike invulnerability and stuff like that. But if you bait a dead angle, you can usually punish it pretty hard. So let me see if I can do this again just for the... Oops. Yeah, that kind of thing. It's not hard to punish most dead angles. They're not terribly good on recovery. Someone asked if you can low-profile burst. Yes, you can also low-profile burst. That's the shortest a burst can be to the ground, is right there. So you can absolutely low-profile burst. So learning how to bait dead angles and bursts, super important. Dead angles, again, not quite as elaborate as bursts. It's easy to, if you block a blue burst, to punish it. Gold burst is a little bit more difficult to punish because, again, they're invulnerable to strikes all the way to the ground, and they recover pretty quick. Blue burst, not so much. But dead angles, either making them whiff, using low-profile moves, or just blocking them. Sometimes you can just do something as simple as Anji is wait for the dead angle, and then hard slash Fujin through it because it's invulnerable to strikes. That sort of thing. There's all sorts of ways around dead angles, so you want to be mindful of them. But they're not that hard to bait. They're really not. If you have a good idea of when someone likes a dead angle, you can just stop attacking or you can make it whiff. It's a lot easier to bait than a burst, and I highly recommend you work on figuring out your dead angle baits, because dead angles will stop a lot of offensive horse shit that's very strong and has a lot of frame advantage and takes a while, but isn't necessarily good at stopping itself and blocking something. So, let's see. What else here? We talked about reversal gold burst. This is hard to deal with. Short of running up and knowing they're going to do it and air throwing it, these are hard to punish. Even if you just walk up and block it, again, you're going to have a hard time punishing it unless you're really, really on point. Reversal gold burst is a strong strategy for a reason. I highly recommend... let's see if I can... Oh, we can just... Why did you not... Oh, because he doesn't have... I'm smart and give my dummy full burst. There we go. It's really hard to punish this. Obviously, I'm hitting him. Well, let's put Anji on guard to further prove my point here. See, it's really hard to punish these if you block it. You're basically not doing it. Something to note, if you do block a gold burst and someone is a little edgy because they got it blocked and they're not willing to do anything, that's a good time to run up and use a grab like that. Usually someone will instinctively kind of block there because they know they have to recover, that sort of thing. But in general, it's hard to punish gold bursts, and if someone can reverse a gold burst, the best thing you can do is just learn how to not get hit by it. Punish it if you can, air grab it if you can, but the best thing you can do is just block it and let things reset to neutral. Even if all you do is get them to burn their burst, that's really good. Their burst is gone now. And if it didn't hit you, they didn't get 100% tension, so life's not so bad. If you get smacked by reversal gold burst, you're going to get knocked down because it's a burst that's really low to the ground, and there's a good chance you're going to get counter hit, given that you're throwing out moves. And your opponent's going to have 100% tension to start running a train. So, be super mindful of these things. Be super, super mindful. The next thing is not becoming slashback bait. Don't do super easy can strings. Don't always air dash in with bad guy and do, you know, jump slash, jump heavy. Good players, if they know you do this, they're going to start slashbacking the second hit of jumping heavy. It's not that hard to do, believe it or not. This is why, for example, like Robokai's old air dash mix-up where he would just do air dash, jump slash, jump heavy, or delay it certain ways and then go low or high and all that fun stuff is not as strong because slashback blows it up really bad. Because if you do the second move, they slash back. Even if you don't do the second move, they put it out there and they recover in time to deal with it. So it's really dangerous to do canned air dash strings. Or just any canned strings with multi-hitting moves in general. If I, as bad guy, like to do low slash, or like stand slash, heavy slash, what goes into forward heavy? Does anything go into forward heavy? There we go. So like jab, jab, forward heavy. That second hit's going to be really easy to slash back. That kind of thing. Somebody ban this bot. Oh, hey, yeah. Somebody kill the bot. Wife, kill the bot. Are you listening? Okay, thank you. There we go. Hey, she did her job. I might actually pay her now. I'm not going to pay her. Anyway, don't do canned strings. Don't be predictable with your pressure strings. Don't be predictable with air dash strings. Don't be blatantly obvious and ask good players to slash back you. Just don't do it. This is so powerful, and I don't talk about it a lot because it's not a necessary mechanic for you to be good at Guilty Gear, and you can get by without ever using this. But players who are really good with it and know how to blow shit up with it, they will ruin you for being predictable. It's really strong. You have to be willing to do stuff that prevents people from going for slashback. Really, really important. Let's see here. So, we talked about kind of the full... We're coming full circle here. Learn your Okizeme options and how to use them. How to do your mix-ups, how to do your pressure. Look at their options, their basic options. What do they have for reversals? How good is their backdash? How good are their reversal options? What do they have for resources? They have a burst, they have enough for dead angle, they have enough for Roman cancels, supers, force breaks, all that sort of thing. Once you start doing good Okizeme, you'll force your opponent to consider taking risks. You'll force them to start possibly reversing. You'll force them to possibly want to burn meter for dead angle attacks, to burn their burst to get out of bad situations. But if you start baiting these things, if you start baiting uppercuts from bad guy, if you start blocking dead angle attacks, if you start punishing people for bursting recklessly, then suddenly they're going to feel a little bit more constricted. They're not going to want to do these things because they go, oh shit, I take this risk and I got hurt for it. I got punished. Usually people, when they keep getting smacked for big damage for taking risks, they'll stop doing it. However, and this is important, that's only if they're a conditionable player. Not every player is conditionable. There are some players that will get this blocked on wake up 45 times in a row, get punished for it, and they're not going to stop. Some people cannot be conditioned. I wouldn't say it's common, but not everyone can be manipulated into this vicious cycle of utilizing Okizeme, so be prepared for that. There are people who will just be like, I don't care if you punish me the last 4 times, I'm going to get this one. But for most players, when you stop them from doing their reversals, when you stop them from backdashing out of stuff, when you make them go, okay, I guess I just have to block an FD and try to get out of this, hope I can weather the storm and then get back to neutral, that's when your Okizeme becomes very powerful. That's when you can do more elaborate strings and you can stagger strings and make people wonder what you're doing and get them to freeze, and then you run up and grab them. Then you run up and catch them with an overhead. Then you run up and just hit them with a blatant standing dust, that sort of thing. This is when you're gaining more and more control. The threat of your offense in the first portion caused them to panic, and they want to start dragon punching. They want to start backdashing. They want to start dead angling, that kind of fun stuff. Then you start baiting it. You blocked a dragon punch that I can't do on this side to save my life. There we go. You blocked the dragon punch. You baited the dead angle. You didn't let them get out with a reversal gold burst, that kind of thing. And now suddenly they go to down back. They're just like, man, this sucks. I'm done getting smacked in the mouth. And now your Okizeme is powerful. You have more options. You have more to do because you know they're too afraid to stop what you're doing. And that's when you can make your strings more robust. You can go for more delayed things that have gaps. This isn't free license to do stuff like that. You can't suddenly do these super over-the-top gap strings and stagger strings because good players know when it's time to down back and when it's time to try and reversal backdash out, when it's time to throw the uppercut to stop you from what you're doing, that sort of thing. But this is what makes Okizeme really strong. You knock someone down and you put them in a position that's really uncomfortable. This is not fun. There's nothing more frustrating in a game with all this high movement and all these options and all these abilities to put crap on the string and do dragon punches and have strong normals than to just get swatted and be on the ground and know, crap, he's going to start something. And I have to be prepared for it. It forces people to think and consider all these options. So if you go through that cycle, if you have good Okizeme to begin with and you have good mix-ups and options, and then you start baiting their options to stop it, then you get in the real position of power, and suddenly one knockdown turns into a second knockdown, which turns into a third mix-up, and they're dead. That's when offense in Guilty Gear really reaches its peak and gets super powerful. This is why I say Guilty Gear, or Okizeme is the ultimate offensive advantage in Guilty Gear. You never have more freedom to set out your offensive game plan than when someone is knocked on the ground and can't do anything about it. So, one final thing to note is that because Okizeme and knockdowns are so powerful in Guilty Gear, because they're so strong and they set up this amazing offensive metagame, you'll see that a lot of characters tend to end combos with knockdowns. Even if they're combos where they could have got a little more damage or squeezed out maybe a super at the end or something like that, many characters end their combos in knockdowns. For example, like with Bad Guy, you'll see them do like a bunch of Sidewinder loops, and then even though they could probably get one more for a little bit more damage, you'll see them late and end with Bandit Revolver for the knockdown. One, it's not that much less damage, but even if it was, it's so much more powerful to have them on the ground and be able to set up an Okizeme than it is to have them get up in the air and be bouncing off the wall and then tech. That puts the game back to neutral. And as we talked about, the neutral game's already difficult. So why would you do that when you can do this and start Okizeme? Good times. Knockdowns are important in Guilty Gear, and this is why. This is why you see people talk about, oh, that combo's good, but what if you can you get it in a knockdown? This is why this is really strong. So that's kind of the full circle of Okizeme. Good options, causes opponents to use desperations and look for ways out with reversals, that sort of thing. You start getting them to hang themselves, and you start punishing them for it, brings your Okizeme back around, and it gets stronger. This is a generalized idea. This is not a guarantee. Not every matchup and not every setup and not every situation will go this way. There are some matchups where if I'm playing as Anji, a Butterfly just isn't that good no matter what I do. Against Baiken, Butterfly is not that good. Against Jam with her parry, Butterfly is not that good unless I can meaty low her in the process. Okizeme is not universally good against every character. You have to consider, you know, who's who. But say if I'm Anji and I'm playing against Eddie, Okizeme is damn good. He doesn't have good reversals outside of one super. His dead angle is super easy to bait, and he just doesn't have good defensive options. So how strong your Okizeme is kind of fluid, like we've talked about with other topics. But that general cycle of getting people panicky and then punishing them for being panicky will make your Okizeme stronger. So it's important to not just only focus on, oh man, this mix-up's so sick, you know, I get him to sit there and then I command grab them. That's the starting point. But when it gets really good is when you go, this is really good, and then they try and do something and I wait, and then I get to do juicy damage. That's making your Okizeme really potent and really putting the fear of God into people when you knock them down. So that is Okizeme in a nutshell. Again, because it's so different, do you want to see some specific Okizeme examples of anybody? Obviously, you see what I do with Anji all the time. I can show you all kinds of stuff. Anji I don't really need to do because obviously I'll be doing a character guide with him soon, and that'll be a big part of the section is butterfly traps and all that fun stuff. But is there anything you guys want to see for, you know, I can go through a couple characters. Obviously, I can't go through every single character's Okizeme and all the options around it because we would be here forever. But I will gladly go through a couple if anybody has specific situations or questions they want to know. What do I do for an Okizeme? And yeah, that's a good point, Rama. That with his force break, I do get the unblockable setup because that butterfly hits high. So there's those to consider, but that's just kind of part of the overall, you know, knowing all your options that I talked about earlier. Maybe Potemkin? Okay, Potemkin's actually a really good example. Let me go get him. So, where you at, Pochop? There you are. And I don't care. Okay, bad guy it is. So Potemkin's Okizeme is actually extremely basic, but that doesn't mean it's not good. Obviously, with Potemkin, the constant threat is good old Potemkin Buster. I can't, man. Can I not do moves on this side or what today? There we go. That's always there. You have to be wary of it. It's the best command grab in the game. It's one of the best command grabs in fighting game history. And he has so many ways to tick into it, that sort of thing. But when Potemkin knocks you down, he can do very simple things. Potemkin has all sorts of ways to set up basic safe jumps. But what makes his Okizeme good is he just has good moves for it. He can start with his stand kick, which hits low. He can go to his sweep, which hits low. And then he just has a really good overhead with his forward heavy, or forward kick, excuse me. And I don't know if this still combos anything. I know you can combo into super. But this is just Potem having basic high-low. He has, oh, I go low, or I go high, and then I get to combo you for it. But the thing is he doesn't even have to do low or high. He can just do something as simple as, oh, whoops, you didn't move. You know. If you're Fab, you get into next level stuff where you sit here and you do stand jab, and then they try to jump out and they get heat grabbed. That kind of thing. You can combo the... Okay, so... Let me put my controller settings back. That's fine. So, like, in this case, you just knock them down, put them right back in the situation, and then you get these kind of safe jumps with jump slash, that kind of thing. Yeah, you can't do down heavy anymore, unfortunately. But yeah, it used to be he could Gatling into all kinds of things. That was one of his nerfs in Plus R. But that's still this move is still good. It's still there. This used to be absurdly good because it used to be ambiguous if he was rearing back to do forward kick or if he was just going to do slide head. Because, I mean, forward kick, slide head. Obviously, slide head is not as good in this game as it used to be because he can't OTG it for you. But still, Potemkin's Okizeme is literally just, I knocked you down, what are you going to do? If you reversal, I'm just going to wait it out, and then when you land, I'm just going to freaking grab you. That sort of thing. You know, you can do all sorts of elaborate stuff. You know, and hammer fall break, which I don't remember how to do, because I don't play him. But Potemkin's Okizeme is definitely nerfed from what it was in Accent Core to Plus R, but still, you have to respect... I mean, he can just sit here and knock you a few times. You know, and he has stuff like far slash that's or down slash that pulls you in, and you just sit here and like, oh, I gotta wait. Oh, crap, I got grabbed. You know, this character's still very good. These nerfs seem really harsh, and they kind of are, but he's still really good. Potemkin is a perfect example of a character that it's not that he has these elaborate, over-the-top mix-ups that are hard to see. It's just that he has this, and that's all he needs. That makes you think twice about everything. If you get antsy and start moving, well, then you get hit. I just meter you and knock you down. Or you sit there and then you get knocked down again. You know, or if I have meter, I do this. That kind of thing. So he's an example of a character that doesn't have elaborate Oki at all. His Oki is very basic. He has some cross-ups with like jumping kick now and stuff like that. And like I said, he has really good safe jump setups with late jump slash that'll stuff a lot of stuff. But it all just comes down to I'm really fucking scared of this move, and it gets people to sit still. Or it gets them to be antsy and jump out, you know. Potemkin has a great way to deal with reversal backdash. If he thinks you're going to do it, he just does this. Get back on the ground. This is going to catch your reversal backdash, and you're going back on the train. So he's an example of a character that has very basic things to stop your defensive options, but they're good. So just because someone has basic Okizeme does not mean they're bad. So that's a good example. Good choice there. What else? I have time for a couple more if people want to see just like basic examples of what people have for Okizeme. What do you got? Anything. Bueller. Biking. Sure. You can do biking. I'm not a biking expert, but I can show you some very basic stuff. So, just for one thing that she obviously has, she has Tatami. You knock them down, you can jump and put Tatami on them. They have to deal with it. But Biken is just kind of a pressure character. if she starts making you block jumping heavy, it has big advantage on it and stuff like that. Baiken doesn't do anything elaborate. She just kind of forces you to sit still, and then you have to consider. She can go straight to a throw in the corner and OTG you and get damage. She's perfectly content to just kind of play pressure games and, you know, keep pressure on until she opens you up for kind of getting antsy and moving around. She's another character that her Oki is strong because if you wake up and do stuff, well, she can just do her counters, which... There we go. Because you can do them out of run now. You know, she could just block and be like... And I don't play this character, so I'm sorry for how ugly this is, but you can just be like, oh, I'm just gonna... Oh my gosh. And I got a trophy. But I can't do the counters very well because I don't play this character, and it's actually a tight window out of that run thing. But you're less likely to reversal in a sense because she might just block and then she gets to use her counters or do stuff like that. Her forward kick, like I said, is one of those throw invulnerable moves. So if she's playing Potemkin, you can do stuff like this. Just run up, go bam, and then, you know, start a basic combo like that. She has a good long-range sweep. She has good general pokes. And then again, if she can ever get you to block this, block her jumping heavy, then she gets all sorts of things. Another basic thing she has is just forcing you to block stuff and then doing TK Yozansen. If she has meter for that, which she can combo out of it. Obviously, this hits overhead, that kind of thing. But Baiken is not what I would call... Her goal is not Okizeme. It's there. She gets to put free pressure on you with Tatami and stuff like that. But she's more of just a generalized character that has solid keep away with her big normals, and then she has okay pressure and okay damage. Baiken's just kind of one of those all-around characters that isn't focused necessarily on Okizeme. That's not to say it's bad. It's just that she's not looking for the elaborate mix-up. She's mostly just wanting to keep pressure on you. She wants you to think twice about moving on wake up, because then she gets to do pressure and crank your guard gauge and use strings with good frames and that kind of stuff. So Baiken's I have Oki, but I don't focus my entire offense around my Oki kind of character. Yeah, Kamino puts it well. Her Oki is all about the fact that she's on top of you, and if you get antsy, she can hurt you. She's very good about getting characters to hang themselves. She's not Milia or Ino or those kind of characters or Dizzy that are you're blocking and now you better guess. High, low, throw, all this stuff. Good luck. You're not blocking this. Those are characters that their entire threat and their entire strength of their game is based around the potency of their mix-up, especially on Okizeme. So that's a different type of Okizeme. Hers is more just about, well, I knocked you down, I'm going to press my offensive advantage and see if I can get you to do something stupid. We can do one more if you guys want. If you want to throw something out. Again, I apologize for how guerrilla my play is with characters I don't use much, but I'm not the quickest to pick up characters. Bridget, I'm going to decline doing Bridget because I don't understand Bridget worth a damn. Especially since I haven't played Bridget since, like, Reload. Maybe a little bit in Accent Core, but not much. Faust, sure. So Faust... has a few things on Okizeme. He knocks you down. He can do something as simple as, you know, go up and throw bag and block. He may just want to back up and throw item because Faust can react to item so well. Item is strong. I mean, you've heard me talk about this before. This is one of the best things in the whole game because Faust forces you to play his game. But his Oki is pretty simple. He can do his faultless defense cancel of his drill that I can't do very well. There you go. And do like an instant overhead. that kind of thing. He has his command grab. Not fast, not super good, but it exists. You have to respect it. He has his low kick, which is a really good low-profile move that beats a lot of crap on if they try to do stuff. It's really good for baiting reversals because of the way his hitbox works. His low punch is very good on Okizeme just because it's a low that's hard to deal with. But Faust, if he's doing Okizeme, is just keeping pressure on. You know, this is his basic mix-up, is faultless defense canceling drill to get an instant overhead, which I can't do to save my life. But yeah, he can do that, get an instant overhead, and then start basic pressure stuff. You know, Faust obviously is more of a control space character than he is anything else. There's a lot of situations where even though Faust has these cute little mix-ups, it's not in his best interest if people have good reversals and stuff, because Faust isn't well equipped to stop those easily. Faust is perfectly fine to just back up and go, nah, we're cool. We'll just throw an item out. We'll just throw a bag out and get an item out and just zone you, you know, do that kind of thing. Because Faust has so many moves that are designed for long range. What is his damn scalpel pull? I don't know what it is right now. There we go. It is a kick. You know, so he had, you know, like I said, he has stuff. He has a basic high-low game. He has a, you know, tick throw game. He has a command grab. So he has all the tools you need for mix-ups in Okizeme. But it's not always going to be in his best interest to use it. You will see plenty of Faust, you know, get a knockdown. If I can find a Gatling that goes there. And just throw an item and then do a meaty that's out of throw range. And then adjust to that situation. I would say this is more common than seeing elaborate mix-ups with Faust. Because now you have to adjust to whatever came out. Oh, there's mini Faust. Well, now you have to deal with that. This is where Faust is at his strongest. You know, you never know how good of an item you can get that'll improve your offensive advantage. So, he has basic mix-ups. They're definitely there. But Faust's strength is the ability to knock you down, get an item out, and then, you know, do this nonsense and make you deal with it. Faust is all about game control. You've probably heard me say before, Faust dictates game flow arguably better than any character in the game. And part of the strength of Okizeme is it's dictating game flow. It puts it all in your favor. Well, when you already are super good at that because you have these items that you can always make the opponent react to and have to deal with your game, Okizeme suddenly isn't near as important to you. You just kind of have that on a consistent basis. So, for Faust, he has an Okizeme game. Like I said, everybody has one. It's just not that important. Now, that's not to say if you have someone who's got piss-poor reversals, again, like Eddie or stuff like that, there's no reason to not attempt some of these mix-ups and punish him and knock him down again and get free damage, that sort of thing. You know, if you hit someone with this FDC drill thing... There we go. I'm just doing it too fast. Like, if you hit them with that jumping kick and then do it right, you can get a good combo, and not with that, but you know, you go into this and do the flowers and then do going my way and knock them down, and oh look, you start the whole thing again. That kind of thing. So that's Faust. He can put the pressure on, do a mix-up, or he can just say, nope, get an item out. How do we want to adjust this? We'll just do that. So that's Faust in a nutshell. So yeah, that's a rundown on Okizeme. As I do some character guides and we do more character-specific stuff, I will obviously highlight Okizeme options and that kind of stuff that you have access to. But like I said, the best thing you can do is watch some videos. What does the character you're learning do on Wake Up? How do they mix people up? How do they open them up? How do they punish people for baits and that kind of fun stuff? Oki is important to learn. Like I said, even if you don't have strong Oki, you can get a lot of damage for getting people to be antsy and hang themselves and push buttons when they ain't not supposed to be pushing buttons. You know what I mean? So, learn your Okizeme. It's very, very important. It'll make you a much better player, and it's fun. This is one of my favorite parts of Guilty Gear. I tend to gravitate towards characters that have good, fun Okizeme strings and mix-ups, because I find that really interesting. I really love having cool strings and mix-ups and options when I knock someone down. I'm more of a... I play at my best when I can calculate when I'm going to do my mix-up. I'm not terribly good with Abare-based characters that are good at fishing for hits in the neutral game and then instantly converting them, that sort of thing. So, some people like it more than others, but Okizeme is a lot of fun. I think most people at least enjoy the concept of, I knocked you down, so now I get to do the good stuff. Like, you know, that's fun. It's fun when you're in control of the match. You know, until they reversal gold burst, and then you get put in an unblockable, and then you die. Oh, wait, that was Excellent Core. So, any more questions, comments, feedback, any of that fun stuff? Did this one make sense? I always write these things down and do the episode, and then I'm like, I wonder if anything I said made any sense. I hope I actually conveyed the message I wanted to get across. So, fire away if you've got, comments, feedback. Tell me I'm an idiot. That's totally legit, by the way. Cool. Sounds like this one at least made sense to most people, which is about all I can ask for. So, that will probably put a wrap on episode 7. Thank you guys as always. I really appreciate it. Again, shout-outs to KY Khalil for all the new graphics, all the new stuff. This new stuff just looks great. I cannot tell you how glad I am that he took the time to do this for me, because I'm just not a graphic person. I don't know anything about graphic design. I'm an IT guy. I know how to fix shit. I don't know how to make pretty things to save my life. So, big shout-outs to him. Like I said, if anybody's looking for some commission graphic work, I will gladly send you his way, because the man obviously has some serious talent. So thank you again to him. Thank you again to you guys for watching. I appreciate you being here as always. As always, send the feedback. If you're not following me on Twitch and you enjoyed the show, definitely follow me here on Twitch TV. I'm going to be streaming a lot here soon, because I have speedrun marathons I'm getting ready for, so you'll be seeing a lot of practice for that. And then, obviously, more IAD-TV in the future. Episode 8 will be in 2 weeks on September 17th. So we'll be back for that. And then, you can follow me on Twitter at Clage. I always tweet before I stream. And if you have any comments, feedbacks about the show, shoot me an email, clage@iadtv@gmail.com. And if you want to watch this episode again, it will go up on my YouTube channel as soon as I get it exported. So, thank you guys. I appreciate it as always. Have a good rest of your week, and I will see you all next time.